Green Lantern Corps, issue 15, legacy number 118, Morgan Hampton writing with Fernando Passarin on the art. So we had two plots going last issue, and those both continue here. One is on Karagar with John being possessed by, well, Parallax, basically, right?
Yeah, it's Parallax.
Yeah, and then the other story is going to the Forbidden Planet, where the Manhunters are indeed still around and ambush a guy and his team that are out there trying to find the Indigo entity. So, yeah, both of those continue, and there's some big moments in both.
I liked one story way more than the other. Because one I felt was playing with things that I don't care about and stuff that we've tread on so recently with John as a character, right?
Sure.
On Korugar and all that. And I thought the wrinkle of him being possessed by Parallax and it running through his memories, and I thought that was fine, but the stuff with his mom and all of that, I thought we had come to a thing on, and then I forgot the wrinkle on this is everything we experienced last with John Stewart
was the other John Stewart.
Wasn't John Stewart, it was a copy. So now we get to do all this again to reset that. And I thought that was a little bit convoluted.
I'm not, too mad about that because I think it's creative the way it does it. I like this the page where it's like in his head and it's almost like the construct of his mother's trying to help him fight the Parallax invasion, and it's like all these like awful memories are like turned up to 11, and he sort of falls through them. So it's like he falls through being like a lantern, then like he's on his old outfit, then he's a soldier, then he's a kid with his dad's being scary, and his mom kind of comes to help him, and so on and so on. I think what I liked more about the John story though was I liked the other characters in it. I liked Katma and what's her face. Sarnik, like them teaming up and like trying to figure out a way to help him, and her going to get her yellow ring. I was kind of into that. I was like, okay, no, I'm liking them kind of be proactive and try and like fight Parallax.
The one thing with that is I wish Hampton had come up with a better reason for Sornik having issues without bringing up the future son of her and Kyle. Coming back.
Yeah, this was news to me. I never read that goddamn run, so I was like, what the hell is this shit?
So I had to get through that to get through the Hal and Pal stuff with Connor. And I hated that. It wasn't good. And it was just like this weird future thing. And she has all this guilt because it's her son. And you're talking about a possible future thing. And she's treating it like she had to lose her kid. And I was like, so when they started talking about her son, I was like, oh, did I miss something? Did Sornik have a kid and something bad happened on Korugar? And I thought, oh, that could be an interesting wrinkle. And then we were reminded of this weird thing. And I was like, Hampton, you were given, I'm sure you were given Rain. And I'm sure that they wanted to tie something into an old run. But you could have easily ignored that and made it like her being afraid of turning into Sinestro, right? I mean, that's a pretty big fear.
I respect them pulling from like the history and everything being relevant, and it's just kind of, it is weird when it's one that I just like I had no interest in that run, that book. I skipped the entire thing.
Yeah, it was the one thing out of that book that I remembered negatively, right? So I might just be too close to it there to be like, I was like, this was not good. And Sornik's a character that I have a lot of admiration for because when she was created as a character, I was like heavy into the Green Lantern books. And I was super invested and stuff. So to see her go through this, and I'm like, oh, I'm glad we're making character dynamic changes, and her having to go and find the ring and stuff was fine. But yeah, that little wrinkle, and then just going through all the John stuff that we already did in War Journal again, I thought was a little bit tedious. But it's not bad. It's just it just comes down to.
It's also over by the end of the issue as well. It's like a one time thing because like the whole thing is like, hey, he looks up and there's all these rocks. Then before they even said it, I'm like, oh, this is Angshi. This is the remains of the world. Here we go.
Yes.
But the whole thing is that his mum teaching him, oh, you don't have to be scared. Like if you don't fear these things, then Parallax can't feed off them, and therefore you're not a good host. Right. And ultimately that does the trick. The other plot
does it.
Yeah, they are also the Sinestro's kid and Zod's kid show up as well for a little bit.
Which that was kind of fun because they're there.
The shitty sons, yes. They show up. The other plot with the Manhunters, there's a couple of interesting things with this one, which is, Guy and Razor and what was the other characters with them? But they're getting trapped by the Manhunters, and the others on the ship are like, what do we do? And Aya...
Oh, it's Fatality.
Fatality, thank you.
That's not her name anymore. It's Yira. Yira?
Yeah, because and also because she's in like the indigo colors now, so I didn't even think Fatality. But they are in trouble with the Manhunters. So Aya basically hacks in, like she has her green astral construct,
her soul self.
Yeah, her soul self. Go out, take over a Manhunter, and is able to start blowing up other Manhunters, and kind of helps them when they get to her location. However, the big twist at the end, when we get to the back chunk of the story, is that the Manhunters wanted this so that they could like go into her body instead. It was like a two-way street. So all of the, again, spirits isn't the right word, but all of the code of the Manhunters has went into her actual body. So her soul self is still her, but her physical body is now been taken over. And so now the Manhunters are all in her body in the ship with the other characters. And the big cliffhanger is her saying, "No man, escapes the Manhunters," and it's like, okay, this is kind of wild. It's a bit of a flipperoo.
So, I also like that the Manhunters, they were able to get Prolicite first, and what they want to do is they want to get all the entities and then control them for themselves. Because if they control the root of all the emotions, right, they can stomp it out. Essentially, right? They control.
I mean, control. I wouldn't even say control. They just want to lock them away so that. Emotions are gone. They want to just contain them.
That's a better way to say it. Yes. And stuff. So I do like that. And that's why they had, I feel like they were able to get the compassion one quicker because they can, that's an easier thing to access. Right. And so I did like that that's what brings them there. And then they do the bait and switch where Aya comes out of in her soul self and they get into her because don't forget, she is an android, so it adds into that. And then at the end where you have Joe, you have the sister who's a construct, Ellie, Sinestro, and Larfleeze, and they're all there. And then I was like, well, that's a heavy hitter group. But then Larfleeze is like, oh, I want one of those now. Right?
Yeah.
So him missing out on the Manhunters, I thought was funny as well.
There's a fun couple of little things like that, like him wanting a Manhunter for himself, or I liked Razor kind of flirting with Aya while she was in the Manhunter body. Was kind of an amusing visual. So
because he doesn't care. That's his girl, right? He doesn't care what body she's in. Razor's attracted to Aya nonetheless.
I mean, technically, she's always a robot, so like,
right?
Why not the Manhunter?
Right, and so it keeps it consistent. So I do like that. But yeah, I like this on the backside, and the reveal that the Manhunters are trying to contain all the emotions and keep them from everybody. I thought that was a fun little wrinkle, and it ends up being like them coming to Guy. That's the reason is right. They need someone, right, that can come up against the Manhunters. And if you need somebody that's going to go against law and order like that, it makes sense that it's Guy Gardner, and then also you add in the KO stuff, the alpha energy, which you don't even need, you could have just made it be Guy because he's a different kind of lantern,
Yeah, honestly, the alpha energy stuff that's popping up in a lot of books just feels kind of tacked on. Like almost all of it could be explained without the alpha energy, but it's just to try and make it sound like it's all a knock-on effect from KO.
But yeah,
so whatever.
But them reaching out to Guy because of that, right? I mean, that's how I interpret it. As that's the one person who will fight against the Manhunters. There's not a rule that Guy won't break. So, but yeah, I also love seeing the Manhunters pop up 2 times this week. I thought that was pretty cool. It might have been a coincidence. I don't know if these were originally supposed to be out on the same week, but it makes them feel omnipresent.
Yeah. No, it was a decent issue. It's kind of fallen into that same kind of category that this book has slid into, which is not a great book, but not a bad book. And if you like the Green Lantern like mythology side of the world, and you enjoy some of these characters that it's focusing on, then I think it's a decent time. But it's never going to rock your world or be like the most memorable run that you recommend to people either. So this is for the Green Lantern like sickos, I guess. This is not for your casual Green Lantern fan. This is for people who really like to get some Green Lantern. So take that for what you will. Matt, what are you rating Green Lantern Corps?
I'm gonna give this a 7.5.
Yeah, just a 7 for me. But yeah, I had a good enough time with it.